Hello and welcome to this first video in a series of tutorials showing basic remediation of PDFs for accessibility. The first thing we have here is I have the resources page pulled up here. This is the page I've set up for the tutorials. When this video is done, for example, it will be placed here in place of this old one. We had to remake some videos here because they've changed the user interface of Adobe Acrobat Pro, but the page will still function the same way. What you'll do here is you'll go through and you see over here we have a number of buttons. These lead to different sections of this page. The basic PDF remediation, which is what we're going to do today. For example, if you click that, it leads specifically to the section, the files in the video for this. PDF form remediation, same thing. And it has more than one video note. And there's one for advanced PDF form remediation as well, consisting of 3 videos. And these videos will probably grow over time, depending on specific challenges that people come across in PDFs. So the first one we're going to do is basic PDF remediation. Now you need Adobe Acrobat Pro in order to remediate PDFs. Acrobat Viewer will not do it. So if you don't have that application, it is available via the Adobe Creative Cloud. You can get it from there. If you don't have Adobe Creative Cloud or you're needing to get a hold of it and you're an employee here at Wichita State, you want to reach out to helpdesk@wichita.edu and tell them that you're needing to get Adobe Acrobat Pro or Creative Cloud, and they should be able to help you out. So we're going to do basic PDF remediation. And when you're working on these, what you'll have is, first of all, a section for practice files. This will present the file that I'm going to remediate in each of these videos. There will be an unremediated version, excuse me, that you can use to follow along with me and practice remediating the file as you go. And there will also be a remediated version of the file included as well. The reason for that is you'll be able to compare the remediated version with what you have to see if there's any differences, if you so choose. It's a good way to look and see how tags are used in documents. So the first thing we want to do in order to do this is we would want to download the basic PDF practice file. These are zipped PDFs. The reason they're zipped is so it doesn't set off the accessibility checker, so to speak. And we'll need to unzip it after we download it. So I could click on this, or I can right click, save link as. If you just click it, it's going to go to whatever your default download location is. By saved link as, I can set where I want it to go. That's what I'm doing there. And save it here in PDF Remediation Tutorials version 2. Okay. Want to have it here? Go ahead and close this. It will be a zip file like this. And all we need to do is double click it. And it will extract the file we're going to work with. So it stacked them there. So I might sort them by name or kind to show them separately. And this is the file we're going to remediate in this video. So I could double click this. If I double click this, it's going to open it in my Acrobat automatically. You may find that when you double click on a PDF like that, it may not open automatically in Acrobat. It may be set to open in your browser instead. In that case, you're going to want to, while in Acrobat Pro, do File Open instead, and it will pull it up. So here's our PDF, and this is a basic. Basically, it's some text and a few other elements. We have a heading, the title. We've got an image as a letterhead, and we've got some sections marked out with some smaller headings. We have a list here, and we have a table down here, and we're going to make this accessible. There's a couple tools we want to add to our user interface before we get too far into this. To add them, we're going to go over on our right toolbar here, and I'm going to go wherever there's not a button. I'm going to right click, and I want to select several things. First thing I'm going to select is content. The content tab You'll notice it opened up a browser for that. Basically shows all the content that exists in the document. I'm going to right click, and there's one that looks like a Z right here. That's order. Order is the reading order of the content. Sometimes you have to adjust reading order for how it's going to present the content to the screen reader user. A lot of PDFs don't automatically understand that, or they mess up and get things out of order. A good example of why checking reading order is important is, imagine that you got an Agatha Christie mystery novel, okay? And for whatever reason, there was a print error, and the last 10 pages that reveal the who of the whodunit has actually been misprinted to be the first 10 pages of the book instead of the last, right? That would kind of ruin the whole book, wouldn't it? Well, the same thing can happen in PDFs. They can have content that's out of order in terms of how you want it presented to your users. And the tricky thing here is that you can't trust a PDF to automatically know the order necessarily that the content is to be presented in. Acrobat Pro does not understand human intent. It only sort of understands whether an error exists or whether an error doesn't exist. So it has really no idea in what order you want your content presented for the most part. So it's important as one of the last steps going through the document to check the reading order and make sure that it's presenting that order, presenting that content in the order that you want it to be presented to your users. We're going to right click one more time, and we're going to select tags. In this case, the name is accessibility tags. If you've used an older version, it used to just say tags, but they've changed it up. I'm going to add that too. It looks like this. Accessibility tags are more or less best thought of in a PDF as road signs that occur in the document, indicating to the screen reader how the content in that tag is to be presented to the screen reader user. I liken it to road signs. So take it like this. The screen reader is a car driving down a highway, okay? And it comes across a sign telling it there's a curved road ahead, right? The curved road ahead is basically indicating how you should drive the next section of road. So if the screen reader is a car traveling down a highway and a tag is a sign indicating what's coming up, then the screen reader is going to adjust itself to present the next stretch of road or the content in the document to the user in the way that the tag intended. Tags will indicate what type of content it is. So for example, we would tag the letterhead at the top. We could tag that as an image. For basic PDF remediation right here, the title, we could tag that as a heading 1, because heading 1 stands for document title, basically. And the text underneath would be paragraph text. So we would have a tag for image, tag for heading 1, tag for paragraph text. And as the screen reader goes through, it's going to indicate to the users, to the screen reader, the tags will indicate to the screen reader how this content should be presented. Okay. Right now, this document has no tags. A document with no tags is not considered accessible. The screen reader uses the tags to relate the content to the user. So it's going to need tags as we go on. We're going to go over here where it says all tools. We're going to click that, and it opens a toolbar with a lot of different options in it. They all do a variety of things, but we need the view more. And if I go down, there's a prepare for accessibility. So we're going to do an accessibility check using the Acrobat toolset on this PDF. So I'm going to click prepare for accessibility, and it gives me the accessibility tools. Do this check, we want accessibility check right here near the center of the tools. So I'll click that. It'll pop up with a little window here with a bunch of different options. You can have it, tell it to uncheck things, tell it to check certain things. We don't need to mess with anything here. All we need to do is leave everything checked just the way it is and click start checking. So you'll see that our right pane has changed. It shows the readout of the accessibility checker. And if I look, there's all kinds of errors in this document. You can itemize the errors under each of the topics by clicking the little caret so it opens, or lesser than symbol. I've heard them called both, the arrow. And when you open that, it's going to show specific errors that it has detected in the document. Tag PDF, we know that this PDF isn't tagged, so that's a known error that it has. Note that a known error that it detects is a red circle with a white X in the middle of it. That's your indicator that there's a problem there. And I can go down and open these different topics and see all the errors that are being generated. I'll point out that a blue circle with a white question mark in it is something that the system doesn't know if it's an error or not. And it's an indicator that you need to manually check it. So it has logical reading order, for example, here. We just talked a bit about reading order. The system doesn't know what order in which you want this content to be presented to the user. So it generates this flag here as a reminder to go in and check the reading order. If you have something that has been completed out like that, you can right click and click pass, and it'll shut that off. But every time this is loaded up in a new incident of Acrobat Pro, it will always show these just because it doesn't know. Color contrast, it also doesn't know. Color contrast deals with the contrast of two different colors in a document, on a web page, something like that, and deals with whether or not there's not enough contrast between the two colors being used. That's going to make it difficult for users with visual difficulties or color blindness to be able to see them. For example, if you saw everything in gray in a colorblind type setting and you put yellow on top of turquoise or turquoise on top of yellow, there's not enough contrast between those two colors, and it will make that text on that field difficult, if not impossible to read. So that's what color contrast is about. And it does not know if the color contrast passes or not. There have been technological leaps in terms of systems able to determine color contrast capability, and there are tools you can use to check it if you want to. The Microsoft Office applications have gotten very good about understanding color contrast in their documents. And if this document had come out of Word, and it did originally, it could have flagged that in its accessibility tool if there was any. We don't have to worry about color contrast in this document because for the most part, as you can see, it's basically black text on a white page. So we're pretty safe on that. So if I wanted to clear that out already, get it out of the way, I'll just right click and click pass, and it goes away. So the first thing we're going to want to do here is we're going to want to tag this document so we can begin working to present the content in a screen reader friendly light. There are a couple of different methods that you could use to tag content in a document. One would be to open the reading order tab right here while on the accessibility tool set, and you can highlight by drag and dropping your cursor. You can't see it, but there's a little box going across it like that. Select it, and you could select a button in the reading order fields to designate what kind of content it is. In this case, it would be a heading 1, so I would select that. But I'm not going to do that right now. A lot of times I use the reading order tool only when I'm in the tag arrangement thing. The thing is if you've got a pretty long document, going through and manually tagging everything like this becomes very tedious. It takes a long time to accomplish. Instead, what I will usually do is have the system auto tag the document, and then I will go and I will correct the errors that are in the document after the auto tag. There's a couple of different ways you can auto tag a document. The first one over here on the tags button, see how it says no tags available? I could right click and say auto tag document. The other way I could tag the document is select over here in the accessibility tools, auto tag document. Both basically are the same thing. I'm going to use the button here. And as you can see, it's searching through the PDF and applying tags. There it goes. Longer documents, that bar will take longer to do. And now our document is tagged. And you'll see when I click on a tag housing other tags that it will select all of the tags within that document. Okay. And if I look here, it has taken a variety of content types throughout the document and put them in a sect tag. A tag will be sort of an image indicating what type of tag it is. Like this, you can see that that's sort of a page type of thing. And it says SECT, sect. That stands for section. A section tag is basically an organizational tag for users remediating or organizing tags in a document. They're not read to them or anything else. They're purely organizational. A lot of times, Acrobat Pro will attempt to section out content it understands in an attempt to be helpful. And it may or may not be helpful depending on what you're trying to do. In this case, the first section tag has got the heading in the first paragraph here. Maybe I don't want the section tag. I can always pull content out of it as we go. But we have our content tagged, so now we can begin looking at making it more accessible. We're going to go from the top to the bottom throughout the document. There are a lot of situations where people will run the tags and they run the accessibility check like this, and it turns up no or very few errors. For example, right now, a document has the reading order and the color contrast as before. And it's showing an additional for alternate text for the images, which of course is a thing. And we'll get into that when we start looking at the images in general. But that's misleading. That just means that the system itself isn't indicating an error. It's everything that should be there is there, and anything that's a direct conflict is not there. Like I said, it doesn't understand human intent. It just understands literally yes or no. Is it there or is it not there? So we still need to go through the PDF step by step to make sure that everything is accessible. We can't trust the checker completely. So I'm going to go back on the reading order tab. You'll notice now when I click that and I open that options box, that unlike before, we have gray boxes around the content throughout the document. That is because it's tagged. If the content is tagged, then it's going to highlight the tags, is what it's doing here. So we can see what's tagged in here, and it would let us know if anything wasn't tagged. The WSU letterhead doesn't show us tagged anywhere. We may not need it. We'll just deal with that when we come to it. So I can use this and go over into tags view, and I can begin organizing my document. Note that this tag is document. This is the home tag for the document. In many cases, tags exist inside of other tags, much like sort of a college outline sort of structure. There will be the main topic, and then there will be an inset. Like you see the section here is inset in document. That means in the document, this is the first section. If I close all these tags up, you can see that it's a series of section tags that exist in the document. And each of these sections corresponds to a section of content. If I arrow down through them, it highlights all those different sections, right? Inside those sections, if I open that, is the content applicable that the system put in that section, okay? This is a very small document. Maybe I don't want to use all these sections. Typically, when I'm using section tags, what I do is I use them for separate pages instead of something like this. So we're going to start going through and making sure that this document is accessible in its tags. First thing here that we have is an H1 tag inset in the section. And I can pull the tags out of the sections if I want to, as I move things around. In this case, I want to have 2 pages here. So I'm going to leave these first 2 items in this sec tag. And I'm going to use this sec tag as a house for the rest of the content on this page. The first one we have here, you'll see it's like a shopping tag. It says H1. H1 stands for heading 1. And it's highlight basic PDF remediation. So in this case, it's understood that this is the heading 1, the title of the document. If I open the caret here, you'll see that there is a box, that's a content box, that says basic PDF remediation. So that's the content, and the tag that it's in, H1, is telling the screen reader how to interpret it, to let the user know this is a heading 1, this is a document title, okay? So that's fine as it is. The next one here is a P tag. P is paragraph text. And there's, we'll give you a preview of the text within. If I select that, I've got that number 2 there, right? So that's fine as well. Brings us to the next sec tag. The next sec tag starts with a subhead, says tags, and a paragraph underneath it. We're going to move that up into the sect tag above it so we can keep the page concurrent content-wise. So I'm going to open this, and it shows that as an H2. H2 is heading 2. If you've worked in Omni CMS, you'll understand what this means in terms of headings. But basically, headings have a hierarchy that they have to be used on a web page or in a document. H1 is considered document title, as I've said before. H1 or heading 1. This is an H2 or heading 2. That's one step down from there. So, for example, if this was a novel, the title of the novel would be a heading 1, right? And then if it had titles for its chapters, those would be heading 2s. Each chapter would have a heading 2 as a title. Same structure applies to a document like this. This is the title, and the heading 2s are indicating different sections within the title. And if you had subdivisions under that, you would, of course, have heading 3. Headings can go all the way up to heading 6, or I should say all the way down, either way. In terms of organization, it's very rare to get to the point where you're using heading 4 and 5, but it does happen. So I want this heading 2 to actually occur after this paragraph tag here, because I want all this content in the same section tag. I'm going to left click to select that heading 2. And I'm also going to want to move that paragraph tag, which is this paragraph right here. I can move multiple things at the same time, or I can move one thing. If I want to move just the heading 2 with it selected, I can right click, select cut, select the paragraph tag right there, right click, select paste. And as you can see, those 3 items are now in that section tag. Now, I'm going to undo this. Maybe I want to move more than one consecutive item to a different thing. What I would do is I would use the shift click trick to do that. So I've selected H2. I'm going to go down to the paragraph underneath it, paragraph tag. I'm going to click and hold shift, and I'm going to left click. There we go. It was being a little grumpy about it. So you can see I've selected 2 items now. I can right click, select cut, go up to the paragraph tag, right click, select paste. Now, if I click on that section tag to see all the content within it at this time, it has the tags here in it. So that's what we're doing there. That's our goal. We have an empty tag now. I'm going to delete this tag because it's empty. And if we leave a bunch of empty tags on a document at the end, we may receive an accessibility error of some kind. And it just keeps things simple. Sometimes you'll have documents with lots and lots of tags in it, and you need to move stuff around from pretty far apart in the accessibility tags pane. So it's good to sort of remove empty tags when you can. Keeps things nice and tidy. To delete it, I'm going to right click on sect, click delete tag. Okay, we're now on the next tag, and note when it pulled it up, it automatically highlighted it because it's selected. I'll open that up. We've got our heading 2 here, and we have a list. L tag is list. And so a list has its own structure. It would have an L like this. If I open it up, it will have LI, which is list item. And the list items are the things that make up the list. If I open one of these list items, there will be one that says label. LBL stands for label. And that's the number on the left side, as you can see, like that. And it will have L body, list body. That is the content, the actual line of content that is in that list item. So if I open that, the first one is paragraph. Okay. And if I open all these up, we can see that it's organized it quite nicely. We've got the heading 2. The list starts under it with the L tag. Inset in the L tag is the list item, which is each one of those is a line in the list. And if I arrow down, inset in that is the label, which is the number, and the body, which is the item that it's talking about. So we'll close that up. That list is good. We want to move those two items up, so I can select both, right-click, cut, select the P, right-click, paste. Next up is this reviewing PDF tags item. And we've got an empty tag. I'm going to go ahead and delete it. Delete tag, right-click and delete tag. This section ends up this page. So let's go ahead and open it up and see what we see. We have a heading 2, again, reviewing PDF tags. And we have paragraph tag, that makes sense. And we have a figure tag. The figure tag, and if I open it up, it shows you some details about the image. That it is an image and the dimensions of the image. This image, however, is not accessible. The reason why it's not accessible and is going to generate an accessibility error on the check, it already did because we saw it, is it actually doesn't have any alt text. Alt text is text associated with an image in a document or on a web page that will provide any information in that image to screen reader users who can't actually see the image. Sometimes this is very important. For example, if you had a bar graph or a pie chart or something like this with a bunch of statistics in it, and there was no text equivalent of that in the document providing the same information, by leaving alt text off of there that would provide that information, it would be considered not accessible. So we want to alt text documents. In terms of alt texting, if you need help figuring out how to alt text an image, I have a web page over at wichita.edu/alt text help. And that web page has a number of examples of alt text. Here's an example alt text for a Venn diagram. Here's an example alt text for a bar graph. Here's an example alt text for some geographic map charts. This is a fancy sort of pie chart. And the intention here is you can read the alt text for these different image types and either use them as a guide, or if you've got a very simple version of one of these sort of things, you can copy and paste the text out of here and change the details to what your graph presents. And this gets very nuanced toward the end. Here's an alt text for a floor plan map. Here's one that's discussing a graph readout. Here's one sort of giving ideas of how to alt text an exploded diagram and things like that. So the alt text guide is very, very useful if you're having something that you're having some difficulty in creating alt text for. If it was something like an image of a person, you could always alt text it as photo of such and such and use their name there to say that the photo is of that person. If it is an image that is just purely decorative and isn't really necessary to relate any information to the document, you can always set it as background artifact as well. In this case, the content above is what we're going to use to judge how we want to handle alt texting this. To review the tags in the PDF, run the accessibility full check, then click the tags button at the bottom of the left side menu, the tags info pane. It's basically saying how to notice that there's no tags available. So maybe we want this image to relate to the text. We want it to provide the information. I could alt text this. I could left click on the little box here. Or if you have your figure open like this, you can right click to provide alt text. Sometimes it'll give you the option to alt text directly off the tag here. I'm not getting it here. So I'm just going to go ahead and do it off of the box here. Select it, right click, edit alternate text. It'll come up with a little pop-up window with alt text. And I can put in whatever I want the alt text to be here. So I could put screenshot of the tags pane. Actually, screenshot of the Acrobat Pro tags pane with single indicator, reading in quotes, no tags available. So that would be a good alt text for this situation. I could click OK. You'll see the text change to show sort of a preview of what I've written. And this image would be accessible now. And with that, we have finished out this page. So I'm going to go to the next sec tag. As I'm going through this, basically, we're going to be moving and removing stuff. These tags here are still on this page, and I haven't moved them up. So I'm going to click the first one, the H2, go down to the figure, shift and left click like before, right click, cut, select the list because that's the last tag in our single page section, right click, paste. So now all the content from the first page, as you can see from its highlight, is all in that single section tag. I'm going to close that up. I have a section tag here that's empty. I'm going to delete it. And because I'm sectioning off the tags for the content, if I had not done this, if I'd have done this all in one line, it can get kind of complicated moving back and forth from stuff. Because you end up with a bunch of tags running down in a straight line. If you have stuff in section tag, for example, I can close that section and take way less space here as I'm working moving forward. I'm going to leave the second section tag the way it is because I want the content of this page to be in the second section tag. So I'm going to first check my heading here, and it's an H2 heading. Tables versus lists, and that's right, so we're good on that. And then we have a table tag. Tables are kind of a complicated structure in here. They're very similar to lists, but of course tables can be far more complicated in their usage than a list is because they can have any number of cells and rows, right? So I'm going to expand it with the caret, and inset in the tables you'll see table rows. That's what TR stands for, table row. So if I click the first TR, you can see that it highlights that first row's cell content. The left cell is tables, and the right cell is lists. Those two things are highlighted. If I open it with the caret, I've got TH. TH stands for table header cell. A heading cell is a cell that makes up what's called a heading row of a table. For accessibility usage, all tables really should have a heading row in them. Typically, people will make very large tables, and sometimes they will have a big table where in one of the center rows, they will have a new heading to start off another section of the table. That can generate accessibility errors. If you're having to create a new heading row for a table, I would recommend just starting a new table entirely. Don't connect up a bunch of tables into one giant structure. Make those tables separate. Anyway, we've got a table header row here, is what this is called. And in each of these TH cells, table heading cells, is paragraph, which it is, and it's tables and lists, right? So this is good. If I go down through this, you'll see that each of these TRs is a table row corresponding to one of the rows. So those are okay. That's exactly how this should be structured. Okay. So I'm going to close up the section tag, and I'm going to close up my reading order tool, and I'm going to save. On larger documents, it's always a good idea to save frequently and save often, particularly when you're working in things like tables and lists that have complicated structures, because it is not uncommon for those structures, for whatever reason, to crash. Acrobat Pro. You want to save relatively often, particularly if you're working in a reading order restructuring, or you're working in the tags of a table or list. It's just how it is with those. So now that I've got my changes here, I'm going to check the reading order. And to do that, I'm going to go on the Z button right here. And you'll see that I have the overall name of it, and then set in there, it says page 1. These are not tags. These are content indicators, so to speak. And this is where we check the reading order. I want to make sure it's good. Now, one thing is when we have the reading order tool open normally, there'll be a number in the box in the upper left of each of the tags. The number is also indicative of the reading order. So a lot of times you'll remediate for a while and you'll get to a page and you'll have some content that you arrange, and the numbers may be out of order for the order that you want that content to be presented in. That's a tip off to you that the reading order there is going to need to be adjusted at some point. Sometimes, depending on the complexity of the document, after I finish, say, a page that I know has reading order issues, I might pop over here and fix that reading order there. Or sometimes I may fix the entire document and then do reading order as the last step. It just depends on the complexity of the document and how comfortable I am with the stability of Acrobat when I'm working on it. Anyway, we've got this open. I'm going to click on Basic PDF Remediation, which is item 1 on this page. And to check the reading order here of the items, I'm just going to use my arrow buttons and click down. So the title is the first item read to them. The paragraph after is the next, 3, 4, 5, 6. And 6 is a list. And as we saw in the list, these items here are tagged separately. What the system is doing is it's showing them in one batch, because from the tags, the order is obvious to it. So it doesn't really have any issue there. You can trust it when it does this. So there's that one. 7, 8, our image with our alt text. Okay, now it goes down to page 2. And there's our heading and our table. So our reading order is good. I'm going to go over to my accessibility check, click it, start the check, and we can see that all of the errors are gone. It is clean. The only 2 things that are still showing as errors are logical reading order and color contrast. Sometimes on a document, you will see an error for primary language, and sometimes you'll see one for title. And what we're going to do is we're going to do a second round with a clean version of this document where I manually tag the whole thing and build them. And in that one, these 2 will probably generate errors, and we'll fix them in that one. But for a quick sweep here, this one's done and it's ready to be put on the website. So next up in just a second, I'm going to pull up a new clean version of this, and we're going to tag everything manually and place the tags manually where they need to go. So